Hello everybody and welcome back to another RCT2 review. Today we wrap up round 5 of H2H9 reviews. This is match number 3, the Tile Inspectors versus the Serial Killers. So we're going to jump right on in with the Tile Inspectors park here. This is Villa Rouge sur Mer, which is 69% by Fish, 15% by Kumba, 15% by Rob DDD, and 1% by Biohazard. So this one is a really, really beautiful park. So set in the Côte d'Azur, south coast of France. The fun thing about this one is that while this park was released, I was actually in the south coast of France doing a bunch of little fun fairs and just tourism and all sorts of stuff. So this one speaks to me rather well, and I think is a pretty successfully done park. First thing you'll kind of notice as we mouse around is the rock work. So this is a bunch of objects from Fish. If you've got like 40 free object spaces, you can get the whole package and really kind of make it the whole darn thing. And it certainly looks nice. It's a good blend of kind of micro detailing without going too heavily into everything, and not getting super artificial or outside the general color palette of or texture palette, I should say, more so, of the game. One of the probably big choices here is the red rock, which kind of has that red clay, red sand, dirt look as you do see down there in the region. So points to them for that. So we've got our village here up in the hills. The nice thing is there's not a whole lot of flat land here, and the terrain is used really well. So beautiful little landscape here with the buildings. Nothing super detailed, but all very nicely put together. A lot of little 2x type buildings with a nice variation on color and texture, enough to keep it interesting. We have all of our little street atmosphere here with the tables and everything else. Our little petite train, which you see all over France. And then wrapped around our harbor here on the other side, you've got this great strip of diagonal buildings. Diagonal buildings historically in RCT can look kind of flat, I suppose, but there's a lot more objects now to make it look a lot better. You see our ball bouncing over here. So this is the soccer ball from up here. This is a soccer game going on, which is kind of fun to see. A little bit of cutaway here, so not too much going on, just a little bits and pieces here and there. Nice moving traffic, not a whole lot, but nicely kind of understated. Also the stop sign here, which is a very nice touch. And our little compact parking lot here, which feels about as compact as the real ones do in Europe. Certainly nice boats. We see a lot of boats in the game, and this is nicely put together, especially the smaller scale ones here. These are sort of on the same level as what I was doing on Washuzan Park. My latest solo park, very nicely put together, good scale, good size. So over here, as we get to the park itself, the park sort of, it's not really gated so much as it's just a collection of attractions here down the hillside. So we can kind of see it all the way down these steps. We have our coaster here, first off, kind of nicely integrated into the landscape. Not the strongest of layouts, that gets a little choppy here towards the end. But still some nice stuff to look at on it, and credit too for the diagonal station here, which is shoestringed in there, so that's always a nice touch. Little flex as far as hacking goes. Up here in our little club here, you'll see the seating custom ride vehicle, which is just super clever. So the tables, Villa Rouge tables, and you can see they're all sitting here for the fashion show as the characters are up and back. So you got this nice modern building here jutting out over top of the water. Feels very high class, very exclusive, as the rest of this kind of beach area does. Another appropriate nice touch there. A little kind of art sculptural things all along here. You've got this great cable car up to the viewing area up here. So this is a revolving restaurant on top of this tower. And then too, as we look at layering, we have this nice road here layered in, wrapping around all of the cliffside, using the half slope here, so it smooths up the slope a little bit. And then over to this side, we cross this big chasm here with a double-decker bridge, which is kind of cool, and the train line above it, high-speed train, and the station is right here in the cutaway. This may be the most successful attempt at land texture striations. I've mentioned in my previous reviews I don't really like them. Still don't think this is a great. I'd rather just see it flat, but this is probably the best attempt I've seen so far. But pretty cool station in here, nice detailing throughout. Our grand piano here in the concourse, ticketing booths and all sorts of nice little details there. Some good signs here as well, signage and all that. One of the things that I like on this park especially are the tunnel entrances. So this is really nicely put together, kind of cutaway here. I always feel like that's a tough thing to do in the game, is to really figure out how those tunnels transition into the landscape around it. Sometimes it just ends up being a kind of sheer cliff face, which doesn't look any good. This one does look good. I think they did a nice job. Also some other hotels and pools and things up top here. You can see all the cutaways, standard type deal as well. And really, I think what I like about this whole space is the way that the elevation is put together in such a way that you see everything, so you can kind of see all these areas where without too much trouble, so you don't feel like anything's getting blocked, but you still get this huge variation in height. So take out all the landscape here so you can actually see how much height difference there is. The rocks certainly add more to it, but it really transitions well through all the spaces, and you get a little bit different perspective every time you spin around, which I think is always kind of nice. Ride wise, there's not a whole lot here. There's not a whole lot going on, but I don't really think there needs to be. It's all pretty standard stuff, so not shocking. And car wise and just motion wise, there's plenty going on. Love how some of this is buildings are set into the landscape. Some of these cool curved structures are pretty neat. Throughout, a lot of good curves, a lot of good diagonals. We don't see a whole lot of half diagonals, which I'm a huge fan of not seeing those, so I'll go for that one for sure. The palette is nice, with the kind of azure blue water, as you might expect. And having, like I said, come back from being here just recently, it achieves the aesthetic very well and does a nice job throughout. I do feel like this is a good representation of this area. This was actually a similar idea to one of the parks I wanted to do, having come back home from there. But this one did it so well that I'll probably look after something else instead, while we bask in this one. But definitely a good park. We're seeing it show up on a lot of top lists, as far as favorite parks of the season so far, and I can't really disagree with that. I think it was done very well, nicely put together, and is a pretty strong park. So congrats to Fish and the tile inspectors for this one. And they went up against the serial killers with Extraction. So this is another space park, another kind of unique park, because we're not using all the tiles in between. There's a little bit more space to stretch out and put a lot of things. So we've got this whole big area, these sort of weird, like, circular lily pad. I don't know if they're planets or what they may be, throughout. I like this this sort of galaxy Milky Way-esque band that sort of hides underneath of all of them. It kind of ties everything together and brings it into one whole. And this was 50% by Mama Rias, 35% by RWE, 10% by FK Coaster Mine, and 5% by Coaster Bill. So there's a couple things on the different planets. Let's look at each one of the little I'll call them planets, I guess. So this is the Sulfur Skimmer, little swinging coaster. Support's maybe a little bit odd since everything else is sort of floating around, but nicely done for one. All the cool little rocketry details and the station. A part of this kind of reminds me of Cosmic Infection, which we looked at the last video. Kind of got that same sort of science-y building type aesthetic. Lots of good rocket ship type work. We've got our larger space station here, very science fiction-y kind of look with all the different different pieces. Once again, the single rail coaster here being the MVP for track architecture. Also, the 4D coaster here coming in as a sort of an odd pick for this sort of thing, but actually works really well in my opinion. And then the monorail cars, which are always a good standby for revolving things, like you saw in Villa Rouge as the revolving restaurant. Next little planet we've got up here is another drilling here into the red rock. The scrambler ride here, very clever use for the drill. And then you've got another Ferris wheel here with people riding it, which I can assume is a grinder. Maybe not the ride I'd want to be on. But it's attached to this really cool little tracked thing. Not a whole lot of space for it to move around on this planet, but still pretty cool. Lots of different just nice tools and other equipment pieces throughout the space, which I kind of like. This little kind of hovering deal that's going after these little asteroids, and then you've got the astronaut and the little mine car cruising around over here, stopping at the different spots, and then all just these little shuttles and things cruising around. This is water transport here in blue. Up here we've got this methane type planet. It says helium hose for wrapping around to this little ship. So I guess this must be helium hovercraft. You got to use the flying saucers, I feel like, with this kind of park. This is the kind of tailor-made for that sort of thing. Another nice transport ship. That structure and just these sorts of little designs in this is definitely a highlight for me in this park. Here's another little cruiser here. This is Lithium Transport. Here we've got a staff transport elevator going up to the other one. So in the black, you kind of lose a little bit of the what's where scale. This tells you that this guy is actually above this one rather than sitting behind it. So not that it really matters, but it just kind of helps frame the space a little bit. Here's another helium transport with some of these little cars. I like this thing, this revolving piece here around the black hole. Everybody seems rather nonchalant about the black hole, but pretty cool idea using these little particle textures. Coming out of this head-to-head, I think we're going to remember this as the head-to-head of custom ride vehicles, and not just ride vehicles for the sake of ride vehicles, but for the sake of scenery and movement and other things like that. Really, we've seen just so many unique and different things, and then being used in different ways. So we had this windmill that we had seen in the Butterfly Park a couple rounds ago, and now we have it used here as this like big solar sail. Another revolving piece right here, actually revolving at the same rate as this guy. It's a nice touch. Another quick little unique structure here. A little. This is a food cart. It says food on the thing. It's a little food ship. Docking areas with everything. Here's another little gray planet with another staff transporter up here, and more drills and grinders and other sorts of fun stuff like that. Icy area above it. So this is the I don't know what this one is particularly, but there's sublimation going on. So this is, I guess, some frozen. This might be some ice, so frozen water. And kind of turn around and see this one is above that one as well. More little vehicles. I love the kind of tanks here that are all connected up and getting dragged along. Here's one that's getting filled. And then over here towards, I think this is the last planet on the string, we get another coaster here. So this is the methane capture Eurofighter type ride. Got our lift and drop here on top of this structure with the exhausts coming up off the top. Kind of standard little layout again, supports and all that very nicely done. And then all these ancillary little bits and pieces. Methane transport ride that goes up and back. Again, custom or creative uses for custom vehicles, which I kind of appreciate. On the whole, this one is a little bit of a simple overall execution, I think, but the idea is nice, and there's a lot of just really detailed transport vehicles, just really nicely put together. Ship design and just these little planets and things. Not quite clear why all of these are circular, kind of flat discs. Certainly, planets of any kind is kind of a challenge to do a sphere in this game with the blocks that you've got. But it doesn't quite explain what the little pancakes here are meant as. But it's a good way to represent it. Not quite sure why the coasters had supports, like I said, with everything else sort of floating around, but definitely a nice overall design. I like seeing suspended coasters too, just in general. I think they're an underrepresented type of coaster in the game. But nice throughout the whole thing. Villa Rouge ended up being the victor on this match, 42-9, so a pretty substantial victory. But not to say that either of the parks weren't very good, but I think Villa Rouge kind of slots itself in as a top tier park overall. But that is it for this video and for round 5 as a whole. Come on back for round 6 here. I should be posting here a day or two after this one goes up. And there's 2 more rounds left, and then we'll head into the finals. I hope you enjoyed it. Leave a comment if you did. And I will catch you in the next one. Thanks very much for watching. Bye now.